Hello everybody out there and welcome to this, another edition of a late night scream review. This time we're talking about dangerous animals. Sharks.
Daring flesh from behind.
So, Dangerous Animals tells the story of a shark-obsessed serial killer who, surreptitiously kidnaps women, takes them out to the ocean, to the middle of nowhere, and then subsequently kills them and feeds them to sharks whilst filming them. Because he's a crazy killer. Until one day he kidnaps a woman called Zephyr, who's oddly named and kind of links in with the movie quite a lot, and meets his match. Yes, he meets his match this time. Who will win in the Battle of the Ages? Or something like that. So what did I think of this movie? I've got no props or anything. I was going to get a little shark or a little kind of... But I didn't have time. It's been a long week. Sorry. So yeah, I went to my local cinema to watch Dangerous Animals. It was actually a secret screening. So at the Odeon, because we're now at the Odeon since the Cineworld closed down. R.I.P. They do secret screenings of horror films, secret screenings. So I went to my very first secret screening out at the Odeon, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the film was going to be, obviously, and it turned out to be Dangerous Animals. So I went to the cinema a few weeks ago to see the new Wes Anderson movie, and there was the trailer for this film, and I was a bit like, I'm not really a big fan of shark movies other than basically Jaws. And I wasn't that kind of impressed with the idea. But I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really know what the premise of the movie was until I went in to see the film. So, what happened? Well, so the story takes place, it's this kind of stereotypical horror film where we see this couple, they go out into whatever thing they're going to, they get killed, something happens, scream, blood, 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 cut to the actual opening of the movie. And this film does exactly that. So at that point, I was already rolling my eyes. I am a hard customer to please. I'm not going to make any kind of bones about it. I expect a lot from a horror film. And I just kind of went, oh, it's one of these. It's a cold opener where... the kind of guy gets killed, and then the film starts real, and then let's just get on with the movie, shall we? So I wasn't massively impressed off the bat. I will say that some of the cinematography looked beautiful. You've got the open waves. It's in Australia, of course it is. It's beautiful. Dealing with sharks, again. I love sharks in reality. I'm just not a massive fan of shark horror films because not a lot really happens, and what you're going to do with a shark that's any different from any other shark film, because they're just creatures living their lives in the ocean. So I'm not that excited. But anyway, so I wasn't kind of in the best place to watch the film, and I was tired, and it's my first late night scream review in a while. So apologies, folks, but it has been a while. So yeah, so Hassie Harrison plays Zephyr, the main kind of girl, our hero. She's a kind of drifter. She lives in a van. She doesn't follow the rules. She doesn't care about people in society, man. And she's got nobody to love. She's got no mum, no pop. She's got no boyfriend dragging her down. She's her own independent woman, which is all great. It's fine. That's great. Until she kind of bumps into a guy called Moses, who is this kind of young supermodel kind of guy, beautiful six-pack, etc. She's this beautiful, stunning supermodel, doesn't give an F, surfer girl. He's this kind of surfer guy, perfect Hollywood couple, even though it's in Australia. And they don't give no Fs about nobody, and they meet... And she kind of starts to fall in love, but not really, because she's not going to fall in love, man. She's just in it for the sex and then moving on. Except this time she's kind of falling in love with this guy. And you know what? I like a bit of heart in my movies. I don't mind that at all. I like a bit of romance, a good old-fashioned romance. And, they're kind of falling for each other, so she's got to go. So she kind of leaves in the middle of the night, leaves him behind, drives to the ocean front and goes for a late night surf. Now, that seems to me, and I'm showing my age, but incredibly dangerous thing to do. I guess it's the don't give an F's kind of attitude about the surfer style. I do actually surf. I am actually a surfer myself, but I'm an old guy, so I kind of do it. I very much follow the rules when it comes to kind of ocean safety. Maybe that's just me. But she goes for a late night surf. And as she's kind of getting her board out at the back of her van, the guy that she's kind of had a one-nighter with is kind of texting her, and she's like, oh, whatever. But she, you know, I don't want to paint the picture that Zephyr is a very negative character. She's actually not. She's actually really likable. She just has a certain lifestyle, and she's not been, I think, you know, essentially she's been brought up in the foster care system, so she doesn't have a lot of like emotional attachments to people. But other than that, she's actually quite a likable character, which I enjoyed, because weirdly in my horror films I actually quite like having characters that I empathize with and like. And I think that's something that a lot of modern horror filmmakers forget, that you've got to make your characters likable. And she's very likable. But then somebody comes from behind and grabs her, and that's it. We cut to, she's on a boat, in the under bit of the boat, in the hold, I don't know what you call it. I'm not a nautical person, but she's been kidnapped essentially. She wakes up and she's in this room on a boat with the other girl. The girl that we thought was killed in the opening wasn't actually killed. It was the boyfriend was killed, but she wasn't killed. So now there's two kidnapped girls. There's a bucket in the middle of the floor, and you're like, oh my God, what is happening to these people? It turns out they've fallen afoul of a serial killer that obviously likes to serial kill by taking people out into the middle of nowhere and kind of dangling them in the water and letting the sharks have it while he films. So it's kind of that kind of thing, which is an interesting premise. And I've got to say that I did enjoy this movie. I didn't hate this film. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was a great movie, but I thought it was an entertaining, fun ride. The serial killer, played by a guy called Jai Courtney, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, was really cool, really intimidating, weird, odd. Had an interesting kind of psychology with the shark, and empathized with the shark. The cool, calculated killer. It picks on the weak and keeps equilibrium with the environment, and that's where he's kind of coming from. And he sees himself doing the same thing, but with these girls. And it's all that kind of stuff. If you've seen a serial killer film, you've seen this kind of setup 1,000 times, except it is slightly interesting because it's based on water and sharks, as opposed to being in the middle of the woods and in a cabin and just stab, stab, stab. He doesn't do any stab, stab, stab. He just does sharks, feeding you to the sharks. But some of the downsides to this film, I think, are consistency. I think it kind of like some part, the first part of the film, it's more like taking itself very seriously. Oh, it's kind of horrific. They were trapped in this the downstairs of the boat. They just have a bucket to kind of defecate in, and it's very kind of Saw-esque, and it's like, oh my God, this is awful. But then as the film goes along, it has moments of like levity, and where it's kind of like a dark comedy, and it's like, oh, okay. And then as the film goes on and on and on, a lot of the kind of action sequences throughout the film, the kind of the tense chase sequences, etc., get quite weirdly amplified, as to where it starts to change from a kind of serious serial killer film, thriller, horror serial killer, to more of an action-based, over-the-top, kind of almost like a Die Hard film, which was cool. And I started to really kind of enjoy that. Like, the girl, Zephyr, she's been chased on the boat, she's been damaged, she's been hurt, she's been, and she keeps going. She's got all this like tenacity. She never quits. She keeps going, keeps fighting. And you're there with her, like egging her on, like, yeah, you can do it. Come on, just a bit further, just a bit harder, just a bit more. And that's great. Except the first part of the film wasn't like that. And so it's kind of a weird kind of change and shift about halfway through the movie. Some of the action sequences and violence are over the top to the point where they're almost comedic. I'll just say this one bit. There's a bit where Zephyr's almost escaping through a hatch in the ceiling, and the serial killer guy comes, he grabs her legs, and he pulls her as hard as he can, and she smashes her face straight on to the countertop. And nothing comes of that whatsoever. She doesn't even have a busted lip. And she would be like dead. And her face would be destroyed, except not in this movie. She just gets straight up and starts like attacking the serial killer. And it's almost... And it's entertaining, but almost comedic. And there's also a bit towards the end where you think it's ending, and then it goes again. And then it goes again. And you're like, oh, come on now. let's end this where it needs to end. And so it's almost, as I say, like it's almost satirical. So both parts of that film are good, except they don't really work together. And I think that just the lack of consistency there is a bit kind of like jolting. And I think in some places it's a bit very unrealistic, and it gets less and less realistic as the movie goes along. If you can see past that and you can enjoy both parts and kind of ignore the kind of patchy bit in the middle where they stick it together, you'll have a really good time with this movie. All the actors are great. I could see the character of Zephyr kind of continuing and doing sequels, because she's almost like, you know, she is almost like John McClane. She's a complete badass, and that's not a bad thing. I really enjoyed it. I like seeing a strong, you know, woman in the movie. There are a couple of parts that don't quite make sense if you think about it too much, but if you just kind of take it for what it is, it's a fun ride. As I say, it's not an incredible movie. It's a fun film. All the actors are doing what they're doing, and it's entertaining. And I would recommend this movie. It's not a high recommend, but it's a fun time. If you like nautical themed serial killer / action kind of films, then you'll really have a time with Dangerous Animals. I enjoyed it, and I'd kind of like to see a sequel, if I'm honest. And when I say that, I think that's kind of the highest praise I can give a movie. So yeah, that's Dangerous Animals. Go check it out if you like nautical themed serial killers. So yeah, that's it for this week, guys. We're going to try and do more of these videos. We are going to try and bring Jack Horrorhound back, but just doing the comic book reviews, as well as doing Galvaston's Cavern on the NYX TV show. So stay tuned for that. We'll have all the descriptions for links and all that kind of stuff that you want to check out in the descriptor below. But until then, guys, stay safe, stay scared, and we'll see you soon. Bye.